God's calendar will lead us to a perfect alignment with Jesus and Donald Trump. Your personal birth date, placing you to the time before the foundation of the world. Your birth date links you directly to the time of Jesus, and yourselves will see the proof by your own calculation shortly. God's calendar gives us a countdown sequence, and all of this points everyone to the year 2030, the return of the Messiah. Historical records state God's calendar started in the year 3761 B.C., before creation existed, relating to Adam and Eve. The calendar started then, and is still being used today. This is the Jewish calendar. Now before you get out your calculator, listen to the first part of this Bible verse. Ephesians 1:4, according as he hath chosen us in him, before the foundation of the world. So, what God says here in this verse, you were chosen before the foundation of the world. The foundation being man and women, Adam and Eve. This is what 3761 B.C. relates to. So, you personally must link to a year before 3761 B.C. So, you need to get out your calculator and using the Jewish calendar year for 2024, the year 5784, you enter this number on your calculator. So enter 5784 and take away from this the year you were born and press equals. Now from the year you see on your calculator, take away how old you are at the end of 2024 and press equals. Now the year you see is 3760, the year before the foundation of the world, the year before 3761 B.C. So, you personally have undisputable proof, using the Jewish calendar of this year. God confirms to you through your birth that what he said about you in the Bible is true. We now look at the link we all have to Jesus. By placing a 7-year timeline together using the calendar years, we see the connections to 2030 and a countdown to 0. As you have established your link with your birth year with God, we now use the birth year of Jesus, which links you directly to his time on earth. According to historical records, John the Baptist and Jesus were born in the Jewish calendar year 3755, 6 months apart. John was born first, as he was to prepare the way for the ministry of Jesus to begin. Jesus was baptized by John according to the Bible. When Jesus was 30 years old, he began his ministry. So we take the birth year of Jesus, 3755, and add 30 years. This gives us the year 3785. If we now look at Donald Trump, he starts his presidency in 2025. The Jewish calendar year in 2025 is 5785. A perfect 2,000-year alignment from Jesus to Donald Trump. Now when Donald Trump is sworn in as president on the 20th of January 2025, he will be 78 years, 5 months, and 5 days old, matching the Jewish calendar year 5785. So, having established the perfect link with Jesus and Donald Trump, we can now place both on the timeline in the year 2025. Whether we like Trump or not, the calendar proves he has been chosen by God to prepare the way for his son's return. John the Baptist came 6 months before Jesus to prepare the way. Donald Trump comes 6 years before Jesus to prepare the way and restore all things. When the disciples were asking Jesus questions, Jesus said, "Elijah has already come, and you did not recognize him." Jesus was talking about John the Baptist, and he said to them, "Elijah truly shall come first and restore all things." So we have John the Baptist born the same year as Jesus, 3,755 the Elijah who has already come, aligning with Donald Trump, the Elijah who will come first and restore all things. So here we have our timeline. On the first line we have the time of Jesus, 3,754 to 3760, showing the birth year of Jesus over 2025 in line with Trump. The second line shows our current years 2024 to 2030. And the third line show the present-day Jewish calendar years 5,784 to 5,790. Now look closely. We take the current Jewish calendar year 5,784 and deduct from this figure the time Jesus was on earth, the year 3,754, and we get the answer, the year 2030. Now doing the same calculation over each year, we get the same result, the year 2030. Next we look at the countdown sequence. We take the current Jewish calendar, 5,784, then deduct the year, 3,754, and deduct 2024, and we get the number 6. Do the same calculation in 2025, and we get the number 5. And so on until we reach 2030 at 0. This slide is not very clear, but I have added an additional 7 years to the timeline which shows our countdown sequence to 0 at 2030. Now if we go past the 2030 point, the calculation starts climbing, and a minus figure. We get -1 all the way up to -7, which points us back down to 0. Now you may question, how do we know these calendars are positioned correctly? Let's take the year 2030, add the year of Jesus 3,760, and we get the figure 5,790, giving us the exact year of the Jewish calendar in 2030. So we are perfectly aligned. Now your calculation that you did earlier pointed you to the year 3,760 at the beginning of creation. And as you can see, you link to the time of Jesus 3,760 over the year 2030. This is the end of the old creation, because when Jesus returns in 2030, the millennium rule begins. A 1,000-year period living in peace with Jesus. Now you do the final calculation. Enter the year 5,784 on your calculator and deduct from this number the year you were born and press equals. Now from the figure you see on your calculator, deduct the year of Jesus, 3,754, and press equals. You will be now given the age you will be in the year 2030. So through your calculation, God shows you to be at the beginning of creation, 3760. Jesus shows you the end of creation, 3,760 at the year 2030. And your last calculation, Jesus shows you the age you will be when he returns, the year 2030. This journey has taken us through a faultless mathematical plan of God. And as Donald Trump will be under God's instruction, I watch closely to see if there is an instruction given to build the third temple in Jerusalem. I thank you for taking part in this presentation and ask you share this with everyone you know, so people can be prepared for the second coming of the Messiah. Please do not be drawn into scaremongery concerning the end of the world, as many are stating. It clearly states in the Bible, Jesus will come and settle disputes between many nations. So he brings peace to the world for the millennium rule, and not destruction. A 1,000 years of peace comes first, and then the end comes. One of the last instructions that Jesus gave his disciples concerning this time that we are now part of, he said, watch. So let's listen to what he says, and watch. God bless you all.